Sexual education is basically a curriculum type that focuses on topics such as human anatomy, birth control methods, sexual safety, sexual health, sexually transmitted diseases, or it can simply focus on abstinence. Increasing sexual education curriculum in schools is a pressing issue, and I say this because me, like many others, only received one day. Mine was in 5th grade, where we were provided access to a puberty video that was no longer than 30 minutes long, and it really only touched on topics such as puberty, changes through puberty, menstrual cycles, feminine hygiene products, and a little bit of anatomy. But through my 13 years of grade school, that was the only time I was ever informed on any of those type of topics, and obviously there was a lot of topics left out. And so there is a need to increase sexual education curriculum in schools. It could start as early as kindergarten with something as simple as human anatomy, and then as students progress through the grades, they progress through the topics, matching their grade levels, maturity levels. And I think that the lack of sexual education in schools just comes from a lack of communication between school officials, politicians, and parents. And I think increasing this communication is a much needed change for the current curriculum. Sexual education isn't a new thing, I'm not saying that it doesn't exist in schools. It actually can date all the way back to the Great Depression. This was influenced by the sexual revolution, and sexual education continued to expand all the way until the Nixon administration. He actually encouraged comprehensive sexual education, or CSE, which is basically just covering all the topics I mentioned before, such as the anatomy, sexual health, sexual safety, sexually transmitted diseases. And this was quickly switched to abstinence-focused sexual education, or AOE, which basically is encouraging students to refrain from sexual activities. This was influenced because of the HIV epidemic, and this was the focus for sexual education all the way until the Obama administration. He actually cut funding for AOE programs and switched it to go towards CSE programs, because by this time it was being noticed that AOE programs didn't stop students from engaging in sexual activities. It just left them without the proper knowledge and preparation to engage in these activities. So this leads to teen pregnancies, sexually transmitted diseases. But with the increase of comprehensive sexual education curriculum in schools, this would decrease those things and properly prepare students to navigate these topics in a healthy way. I think that abstinence-focused sexual education programs are favored over CSE, because I honestly think it's easier to implement these programs because you don't necessarily need approval from parents, and it goes, I guess, along with religious beliefs of refraining from sexual activities until marriage. And so honestly, I think it's just easier to promote these AOE programs because it's less awkward, but it doesn't properly prepare students for their future. So the goal is to increase CSE programs in school, starting as early as kindergarten and going all the way until senior year. And this is important to properly prepare students for a healthy and successful lifestyle, and to reduce teen pregnancies, and to reduce sexually transmitted diseases. Sexual education, a curriculum, life. And so, hold on.